So the good people down at Bleacher Report took a good idea from Jubilee, the whole 20v1, where I make my argument against 20 other people who are making counter arguments against what I believe in, and now brought it to basketball terminology. We have one LeBron fan versus 10 LeBron James haters. Be honest with you, I thought about doing something like this, especially like who's the GOAT between like LeBron and MJ. I kind of feel like this argument gets tired a little bit, but I at least want to hear some of these arguments out. I've seen some clips running around. So let's see what's going on here.
A dude that does this, crowning himself,
Aura.
That's the opposite of aura.
Bro, I hope like it's not one of those videos, bro. I hope we not getting no ultra casual talk. I know it's House of Highlights. I know.
First topic, no one will break LeBron James' scoring record.
Somebody is going to break LeBron's all-time scoring record. You think that just because he's doing it now, nobody's going to come after him and break him. That's what we thought about Kareem. And then guess what? Somebody broke it. Every single year, the NBA is becoming more efficient. People are going to come through. There's some middle schooler right now that's taking 30-footers who's going to show up, and he's going to break LeBron's scoring record.
I think when people make this argument about like LeBron's scoring record, it's in such bad faith because people just don't want to acknowledge it. And I do believe if you downplay this or you try to just casually believe that someone's going to come by and just score 40,000 points, not saying it's impossible, but to even like confidently say that is crazy because it's not the argument of players are going to be more efficient. It's just sheer volume. Can you confidently say that there will be a player in the NBA in our lifetime that will be able to come through playing not only 19 seasons, but also play 19 seasons at a very high level where they're consistently giving you like 25 to 30 points? Because effectively, that's what you're saying. You're saying that you believe sometime soon in your lifetime, if not a little bit after that, that somebody's going to be able to do that. That is such a high mark to hit that anyone who makes this argument against it, I just don't believe that you truly understand what you're saying. Having the title of scoring the most points in NBA history, or even just 40,000 points in NBA history, bro, that is like one of the greatest statistical feats in all of sports. Because even if you are like someone who goes out there and give you 30 points on a night-to-night basis, like let me do the math real quick, because I've done this before, and people just don't understand like how ridiculous it is to say what they're about to say. So if you average 30 points per game, and he plays all 82 games every single year, that's 2,460 points per season, right? Then you take 40,000, divide that by the answer, 2,460, and we're talking about 16 years. You would have to play 16 years of basketball, averaging 30 points or more, and play every single game without there being any lockout, any shortened season, none of that. Think about how crazy that is. The idea that someone would be able to average 30 points within a 16-year sample size of their career, that's crazy. And so when y'all sit here and say these things, I'm like, bro, I don't really think y'all really comprehend what you're saying. Like, you should not be able to confidently say that at all.
If LeBron came before MJ, there wouldn't be an argument about who is better.
We could say this very simply. We've already seen Jordan surpass the GOAT before him, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem, since high school, was ready to be the greatest player, just like we saw LeBron James. So we've already seen an all-around player with an unstoppable move and the persona bravado as I'm the greatest. And what did Jordan do? Surpassed him, right?
He doesn't know when people were having the conversation of being the GOAT. He thinks that people were waiting until 98 to occur for him to be like, oh, finally we can say Jordan is the GOAT because he now has 6 championships. That's not what happened. Many people were placing Jordan as the GOAT in the middle of his first three-peat. People don't know that because they just move off of narratives that are being pushed and they think that, oh, well, we saw him beat somebody or pass somebody who has all the championships and statistical accolades with finals appearances, et cetera, et cetera. So why exactly would it be different with LeBron? No, because y'all did not wait until Jordan won 6 championships and all the MVPs and go on to 3. I don't even think there was some people were saying that he was a GOAT before he even went into and finishing like the first three-peat. Like I think he just won back-to-backs, and you can just go find publications in like 92 and 93 already calling him the GOAT over Kareem. And for other people who don't know, there's a lot of people who didn't even view Kareem as the GOAT. Matter of fact, the idea of being the GOAT didn't really exist until Jordan came along. If he had preceded Jordan or came before Jordan in some capacity, how is it that he would not be able to be deemed the GOAT and set the standard to where he's at right now? And I also believe that it's just more difficult to win 6 championships in today's era where player movement and coaches and just training staffs and people are just way more advanced in identifying weaknesses and strengths with teams and being able to construct rosters much easier now than they were back then.
There's still no debate. Jordan tops LeBron every time.
Pause. Jesus Christ.
And I do not believe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a greater player than LeBron James. All those things you said make sense if you're simply looking at it that all Jordan had to do to pass up and be the GOAT is check boxes on paper. And that makes total sense. As a Jordan fan, you see number 6, number 0, he's the GOAT. LeBron, the argument for him has nothing to do with whatever Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did. He's a better player. That, the typical things, bigger, faster, stronger. He's a better passer. Scoring, let's call it equal. If you want to give it to Jordan by edge because of whatever reasons you have, sure. So much of why Jordan is revered as his unquestioned GOAT is nostalgia, is he came first, is he was the first guard to come in and be a guy that showed you can, win a title around a perimeter player when previously it was all big men, like you said. If LeBron had did that first, that talking point would be irrelevant. There'd be very little argument, especially if LeBron presumably dominated that generation in the same way Jordan did, which I don't have any doubt he would. Do you?
Yeah, I do. And I think you made a couple of points that aren't based in fact and more based in opinion.
That's all it is.
No, there are some facts to back it up,
For
some
sure.
of which that I've named, right? You talked about being a more versatile defender. The Defensive Player of the Year awards don't say that.
Fuck, bro, this is about to be a casual argument. You fucking moron. DPOY doesn't mean that you're a more versatile defender. No one doesn't think that Rudy Gobert is a more versatile defender than like Anthony Davis just because he is a DPOY. That makes no fucking sense. Do you hear how fucking stupid that sounds? Do you hear how stupid that sounds? Winning a DPOY does not mean you're a more versatile defender at all. And also, let's just be clear. LeBron and everyone in today's age of basketball, the identity or what it takes to win these awards is significantly different from back then when there wasn't any history attached to the awards, right? So now you got people not giving Jokic another MVP because, we got to make sure we preserve everybody who come before him because the standard has been set. Bro, Jordan was winning DPOY when the award just existed. So the idea of what it means to be DPOY was not yet set in place. That doesn't mean that Jordan wasn't a great defender by any stretch of the imagination, but I have a hard time believing, especially in the 90s or in the 80s, late 80s, throughout the 90s, that a guard can win DPOY and be the best defender in the NBA in a league that was dominated by big men and interior presence. It doesn't make any sense at all. I have a hard time believing that he was the most impactful defender. But again, the idea that you win DPOY means that you're the most versatile defender, that's dumb. You don't believe that. Just hear yourself. The DPOYs don't say that. Nigga, the eye test don't say that either. Like, there's a lot of things that don't say those things. Watch the games. Tell me about awards. Nigga, you don't think that Steve Nash is better than Kobe Bryant throughout those years because he won 2 MVPs and Kobe didn't win any. That's dumb.
LeBron's stats are more based in longevity, right? If you're talking about who's the greatest scorer, we're looking at points per game, we're looking at playoff performances, we're looking at regular season performances. You can't call that a wash. You can't call the defensive stats a wash either. And then you talked about uplifting players and making players better. Is that really true? I don't think so. Who did Jordan take to the finals? Scottie Pippen, Luke Longley, Ron Harper, a bunch of players that after they left him were not able to accomplish the same things.
Oh my God, that's so fucking stupid. These are a bunch of players who are mad old. They weren't in their primes anymore. So yes, they weren't as impactful as they were before. But when they first got on the team, no. Matter of fact, the Bulls were so good after Jordan left in the mid 90s, but they still made the playoffs without Jordan. They got to the second round and pushed a team that made it to the finals to 7 games. Jordan was on a team that was competent enough to give him adequate pieces way more frequently than every other team in the 90s did. He was on the best organization throughout the 90s, and I don't even think it's close. Don't even think it's close. Not to take away from Jordan, but if we're going to have a teammate argument, like, nigga, let's be for real for a second.
Next topic. It's controversial. LeBron James is one of the clutchest players of all time.
We meet again. Clutch what? Not clutch at the free throw line. Maybe he had some clutch performances, but let's bring up the biggest moments of LeBron James' career, and let's continue to talk about winning like my brother Nelson did. Miami Heat, biggest shot of the series that got them to Game 7, Jesus Shuttlesworth. Game 7 against Warriors, and my guy, Stephen Curry, that's ingrained in my memory, Kyrie Irving. And who passed him the ball? LeBron. Because it wasn't his moment. Whenever it's time and it really counts and it comes down to it, he's passing the ball because he shies away from the last shot. Please don't go to some regular season game where no one is watching. Let's talk about the biggest moments when being clutch matters.
This is crazy because you just sat there and said that he's not clutch in these moments on the free throw line. You led with that. And then you brought up Game 7 in 2016 when LeBron made clutch free throws. Also, LeBron in the game where, again, Ray Allen hit a big three, I definitely believe preserved a lot of the mystique of LeBron in that game because it definitely didn't look too good for LeBron in that series leading up to that point. But then you bring up that series, and then in the following game, in Game 7, LeBron was clutch all throughout that entire game and hit a big shot down the stretch, a mid-range jump shot over Kawhi in Game 7. So even in that series, you're bringing up series where he is clutch. What's even worse is that, crazy enough, shout out to the NBA. Shout out to LeBron. I'm actually recording this on LeBron's birthday. That's the reason why I wanted to record this video. Bro, on LeBron's birthday, the NBA actually uploaded a near 4-hour video of LeBron's most most clutch moments. 4 hours. Nigga, we're in 2024 and people are still trying to get this nasty argument off. If you are still arguing this respectfully, you are just dumb. Is LeBron one of the most clutchest players in NBA history? Yes. Is he more clutch than like Michael Jordan, Reggie Miller, Larry Bird? Hey, you do whatever you want to do with information that you quite frankly don't actually have the evidence to, but fair. You do whatever you want to do to try to push that narrative, but that still doesn't remove the fact that he is one of the most clutch players in NBA history. That's what the question is. The fact that people are still arguing this in 2024 is so dumb.
LeBron James is responsible for the super team.
How is he not?
People believing this when the Celtics literally a couple of years prior to that formed a super team makes no sense. I don't know how anyone really believes that he's responsible for it. I have no idea whatsoever how people can come to that conclusion. But super teams existed before. They're going to continue to exist, especially with free agency. Even back in the day when there wasn't free agency and people were on these slave contracts, there were still players that were trying to get off of these deals and force their way on teams and had other star players on the roster. So like this idea that he created it when players have been trying to do that for years, no.
You're talking about general managers making trades to go create teams. Kevin Garnett was traded to the Celtics. I think they just came together naturally. LeBron talks about recruiting players openly.
This again goes to like, and I hope he says this, but this goes again to like a lot of people just don't know enough about the sport to be talking and yapping. And respectfully, you just need to not be on this platform. And I really hope that there's a rebuttal behind it. But Kevin Garnett wasn't trying to form anything naturally. It wasn't just general managers. Kevin Garnett himself openly admits that he called Kobe Bryant not once but twice. That he was calling around trying to ask people like, hey man, how you think me and Kobe would gel well? He was doing that. That's not natural. It just didn't work out because Kobe didn't pick up the phone. But that's not natural. That's not a general manager trying to make that deal. He did that. Charles Barkley openly admits that he not only called the general manager of the Portland Trailblazers, that he hopped on a plane, flew all the way to Portland to sit down with the GM and explain to him how they can construct a roster that would effectively have been a super team in the 90s. And no, this isn't after his years with the Phoenix Suns. No, this is him post his 76er tenure. So right before he went to Phoenix, right before he was in his, like in the middle of his prime, in his peak, that's when he was doing that. So when people sit here and argue that, oh, they just never did that back in the day. No, they did. It just wasn't as successful because of the restrictions that were set in place that prevented these players from doing the things that, in all seriousness, they really wanted to do. The reason why we have free agency the way we have it right now is because previous players pushed for it. They pushed for players to have the freedom that they have right now to move around and be on whatever team they wanted to because they got tired of being on slave deals and being attached to these organizations that couldn't do a single thing. So this idea that he started super teams when quite literally there's Ray Allen, KG, Paul Pierce existed right before that.
Okay, good. So this is a great segment into what I really didn't like about the whole LeBron situation. I mean, if you're going to create a whole presentation about saying, not 2, not 3, not 4, and we're going to get all the way up to, I think it was maybe 8, 7 or 8. And just to come up empty-handed after that is pretty embarrassing to me. And in my opinion, if you're going to go up there and you're going to say those numbers, you better damn well go up there and complete and get to whatever number you thought you were going to get to. So a lot of the respect that I've had for LeBron definitely did come with the Cavaliers win. But again, that came with now restacking the roster. In a situation for that decision, for that night when he went on camera, it was like, let's have a decision. It was a whole premiere. I mean, that's kind of just really ridiculous, Yeah,
it's really ridiculous that he raised all that money for those kids, just fucking, who the fuck is that guy? Just really fucking ridiculous that he did that. At the end of the day, bro, the whole super team conversation to me is odd because for whatever reason, you believe it's okay if a general manager does it, especially when the general manager, especially back in the day, they were doing bad deals underneath the table, handling money underneath the table from one organization to the next. So you had these teams just handing over draft picks that they didn't really give a damn about for financial compensation that was not being accounted for. So you had teams getting significant advantages against someone else. You think that that's okay, that's fine and dandy because the general manager found a way to go around the rules that was set in place to do something that was illegal to build these teams. But for whatever reason, LeBron does it the way in which it's supposed to be because free agency exists, and that right here is fine. At the end of the day, bro, talent is talent. I don't know why y'all get all in your panties about the fact that LeBron played with multiple All-Stars, but you're okay with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson playing with multiple All-Stars, and somehow that's okay, but LeBron doesn't, it's not. And quite frankly, you could very well argue that Magic and Bird played with even more talent than LeBron did throughout the course of their years, the consistent amount of help. There's not a single player that LeBron has played with with that is as good as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he stepped into the NBA. Not a single one. There's not a team that LeBron has been on that's as good as the Celtics throughout the early to mid 80s, as good as the Lakers throughout the early to mid 80s as well. There is not one single team that LeBron has been on as good as those teams. But for every reason, that's fine. It's okay when the Boston Celtics throughout the 60s had by far the most talented roster in the NBA, not even close, and that's somehow fine because a general manager did it. At the end of the day, talent is talent. What you are doing with that talent is very impressive and what matters the most. And if you really and truly believe that it cuts into competition, if you really think that's the biggest issue, then again, you would have to discredit a lot of other people's championships because they won championships when it was not competitive. The Lakers were dominating the Western Conference, that weak-ass conference, all throughout the 80s. There were no competition. It just wasn't.
LeBron is the GOAT.
Men lie. Women lie. Numbers don't. Michael Jordan has a better PER than LeBron James. He has a higher offensive and defensive box plus minus.
Okay.
He has a better win share per 48. So Michael Jordan is more efficient, better at offense, better at defense, and contributes to winning more. So how would he be better?
Well, I don't know how many of those are true. I didn't write down a bunch of numbers for this.
So let's see how true they really are. Some of these numbers I'm pretty sure are true, but I don't necessarily know how true all of them are. So here we are. PER. This nigga is making a difference between 0.9. Please shut the fuck up. Then the true shooting percentage is 2% difference. Basically the exact same, especially when you take into consideration the areas that they played in. Defensive win shares actually go towards LeBron. I think he meant win shares per 48. Yes, that goes to Jordan because defensive win shares and win shares is a cumulative stat. Offensive box score plus minus 7.2 to 6.9. Be fucking for real. Defensive box score plus minus 2.0 to 1.7. Be fucking for real. Box score plus minus 8.6 to 9.2. Be fucking for real. These numbers are basically the same. And I've already known this because I've already done this several different times, bro. The numbers are virtually the same. And taking into consideration like how advanced analytics are not perfect, how they're heavily flawed, but we're basically talking about the exact same players at this point. Like a lot of these numbers point to the exact same. This man really want to talk about stats, it would heavily go in the favor of LeBron, especially the cumulative ones. So let's be fucking for real, dog.
How many defensive
first teams?
All defensive, yeah. How many does
I don't remember. He has them.
I think Jordan has more though.
He probably does.
So he's a better defender, you would say.
Nope.
How is he not a better defender if he has a defensive player of the year and
let's talk about this is a fun one. Let's talk about the merits of defensive NBA award voting over the years. In the 1990s, do you know who voted for NBA defensive awards?
No idea. Tell me.
Journalists. Do you know how many journalists had access to watching 82 games a year of all?
This nigga is cooking. Because they couldn't. That's the reason why I don't really take into consideration a lot of those awards back in the day because they couldn't watch the games. They just like literally, that's not a knock on them, but they like literally could not watch the games. The games were not accessible to them. So to sit there and to believe that Jordan got the valid DPOY vote in 88 off of numbers that over the summer people start to question and had very valid claims could also be inflated numbers and cooked numbers thanks to the statistician. You're telling me I'm supposed to take into consideration that DPOY? Shut the fuck up, bro. They couldn't watch the games back then. There is a much better way to accurately assess players defensively right now than there has ever been. Ever throughout like NBA history. Ever. So when people sit here and make these arguments, bro, you are sitting here using like nostalgic based ideology. Oh my God, MVP, DPOY from people who were voting who weren't watching the games, nigga.
It's about the rings.
That's 3 of them.
Thank you.
4 rings, actually.
You know how many Jordan has?
More than that.
6.
Quick maths.
Fuck, bro. Bro, this shit cringe as fuck. Oh my God, this shit cringe. Look, man, at the end of the day, this is a very interesting conversation. Shout out to LeBron. Happy birthday to you. 40 years old, still in the NBA, kicking ass and playing really, really great basketball at an advanced age. I personally still have Michael Jordan as my GOAT. However, I do believe as the time continues to progress, it's really hard to deny LeBron that mantle because he plays at a very high level for an extended period of time. Of course, you know, people have their own preferences. It's fine. If you want to live and die on the hill of rings, completely fine. I would then kind of just ask the question, who else is in your top 10? I'm pretty sure by the time we get to like 7 or 8, I'm pretty sure it would be very inconsistent because most people, like I said it before, these arguments have been very old and stale because people try to build up this ideology of greatness to diminish who LeBron is or diminish who Jordan is instead of just being fair and even. And so when you just ask them to go beyond the debate of LeBron and Jordan, it tends to fall apart very quickly, like really, really, really quickly. But hey, man, very interesting video. Again, I wanted to do a video like this. If y'all think I should, let me know because I'm certainly up for a good debate and good argument. But if not, as always, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.